Ladies and gentlemen, at the time of this recording, the NBA season starts in 6 days. So today, I'm going to be doing my NBA season prediction, starting with the Western Conference seeding prediction. I'm going to take the first seed all the way to the 15th seed, give them a record prediction and their seeding prediction. And then in the very next episode, we are going to break down the playoffs, MVP prediction, all the award predictions, all that as well. So if you guys like consistent high-level basketball conversations, you guys are in the right place. Ball Dominant starts now. So it wouldn't be an episode of Ball Dominant if we didn't talk about some recent news in the NBA today. And the first thing I want to talk about is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo has said that a challenge for him is to play in the playoffs and to get out of the effing first round. As we all know, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been hurt throughout the past 2 rounds where they lost in 6 games to the Indiana Pacers, and I think it was 5 or 6 games against the Miami Heat. And the Bucks have really been championship level teams these past few years, and they just have missed the mark. In 2022, they lost in 7 games to Milwaukee, and they had no Chris Middleton. In 2023, they lost in the first round against the Miami Heat, and they had no Giannis Antetokounmpo. And in 2024, they lost in 6 games to the Indiana Pacers, and they had no Giannis Antetokounmpo once again. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a top three player. He's just coming off of one of his most impressive seasons, his most efficient seasons, and I think he's going to have an MVP-like season once again. I think he's going to be top 3 in MVP voting. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins MVP. I'm not going to lie. Not going to lie. There's something telling me that Giannis might win MVP this year. Like, it might be a Giannis year. And who knows, man? He looks like he's really motivated. Giannis hasn't really been getting this injury-prone tag, at least playoff injury-prone, since maybe the past 2 seasons. The past 2 seasons, Giannis has been struggling to play around playoff time. And this is something that we would love to see as an NBA fan. We would love to see Giannis play in the playoffs. And I think the Bucks could be a team that could get to the second round, maybe even to the conference finals if they are fully healthy. Up next, Victor Wembanyama has said a lot of the NBA players that he liked coming into his rookie season, he kind of lost a little bit of respect for due to their work ethic. And I think we can see this across a lot of professions. You know, some people that you may look up to, you get around them and you be like, hey, man, you're not working hard enough. You're not respecting or at least appreciating the opportunity that you are in. And I just think Victor Wembanyama is starting to see that firsthand. And I think this does show how much Victor Wembanyama does work towards his craft and does want to get better. And that's something I can respect. All right, now that NBA news is out for the day, we are going to get into what you guys came for, and that is the Western Conference standing predictions. And at number 15, I have the Portland Trail Blazers. Yes, the Portland Trail Blazers with a projected starting lineup of Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Denny Advia, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton. Now, this is a team that intrigues me. This is a team that does have some young talent. This is a team that's going to be horrible on defense. And one of the biggest questions I have for this Trailblazers team is who's going to be the guy? You know, you draft Scoot Henderson with the 3rd pick in the draft, and a lot of people were very high on Scoot Henderson. It may not be a lot of people that is as high on him now due to his very inconsistent and very brutal rookie season. One thing I would like to say about Scoot Henderson is it is not easy for a rookie player to become the lead point guard on an already struggling team. It is not easy to do. You know, last season he averaged about 14 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. He was very inefficient. I think he shot about 39% from the field, 33% from 3. And this is something that we see from Scoot Henderson that we really didn't expect. I thought Scoot Henderson was going to be an athletic phenom, somebody who can get downhill and create plays for his team getting downhill. But we see his rookie year that he just was not as explosive as we thought he was going to be. He was very inconsistent when it comes to shooting the ball. Like I said, he shot about 33% from 3. He was really bad in the restricted area. He was really bad in the paint outside of the restricted area. Wasn't really good in the mid-range. I think it was about 38%. But towards the end of the season, we started to see some type of change in Scoot Henderson's game. He was a lot more aggressive from the mid-range, from the floater. His assists went up a little bit more. Let's give you the numbers. The last 20 games of Scoot Henderson's rookie year, he was giving you 17 points per game, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, about 35% from 3 on 5 attempts. The only thing that would really deter me from this stat line is he's also giving you 4.5 turnovers a game. And that's something that we've been seeing from him throughout his entire rookie season is he has a tendency to turn the ball over. And I think he's going to get better. I definitely think he can get better. I think there is some defensive upside with his length and his athleticism. We would just like to see that a little bit more out of Scoot, because there are some traits that he's shown that we can be like, okay, you can still be a solid starting point guard, or you can still maybe be an all-star caliber player. But we would like to see that emphasized in his second season. I would like to see him work in the mid-range a little bit more. I would like him to see him a little bit more crafty how he gets downhill, whether he can be effective with the floater, whether he can be effective with the mid-range, if he can be better in the restricted area, period. And if he can cut down on those turnovers, I still think he could be a very good player. But let's look outside of that. The Portland Trailblazers do have a good amount of veterans that can be moved for some solid assets. And these are the 4 players I would have on my trade block this season. If any solid return comes back for these players, if teams are calling, contending teams really, because I think a lot of contending teams would like to have these players. If you can get a good solid return for these guys, I would pull the trigger immediately. And that's Robert Williams, DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, and Anthony Simons. I think the starting backcourt for the future is already not as good defensively with Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, or Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons, whichever way you go. I do not think that is the best starting backcourt defensively you could have. So you're going to need some guys who can make up for their deficiencies on defense. I think Denny Avdia can do that. I also think Donovan Clingan can do that. So I don't think DeAndre Ayton has a real role in this team. This is a guy who's, I think, 27, 28 years old. He definitely can give you some production, solid mid-range shooter, great with his great footwork. He can finish around the basket. The problem is he does not play defense, and he's not good with contact. 2 things that you should be phenomenal with if you are a center. You should be embracing contact. You should be fighting for those rebounds. He's not a good rebounder, in my opinion. He's also needs to be a lot better on defense. Just the physicality of everything. I just don't necessarily know if I like that. Up next with Jeremy Grant, this is a guy who was looked at as one of the best starting rotational guys in the league, which I think he can get back to. He is a solid shooter. He's very lengthy. He can defend multiple positions. And Jeremy Grant this upcoming season is going to be making $29 million a year. And he's also going to be making about $33 million in 2028 when he has a player option. That contract definitely needs to be moved, and I think it needs to be moved to a contender. Maybe if it's a team like the Bucks, the Lakers, maybe even the Timberwolves. I just think that you would have a better chance moving him and getting some solid pieces in return, because this is a guy who can hit the outside shot, is a really good defender. And I just think him playing on a lesser team has really improved his on-ball abilities, just like you would say for Mikal Bridges. Next up, we have Robert Williams and Anthony Simons. I think Anthony Simons is that boost of offense that a contending team could use. A team like Orlando, before they traded for KCP, would have been a great place for Anthony Simons. Even a place like San Antonio to have a explosive guard next to Victor Wembanyama, and you already have the defensive anchor to kind of make up for those deficiencies on defense, and maybe you can get him to buy in just a little bit more on that side of the basketball. And next, you got Rob Will. I think Rob Will fits in so many different scenarios. I think he fits with the Knicks. I think he fits with the Pelicans. I think he fits with the Lakers. A lot of teams would love to have Rob Will. I mean, this is a guy who was an all-defensive second team when he was fully healthy, I believe, and he was also 7th in Defensive Player of the Year race that year. So this is a guy that's going to have some people that want to trade for him. So the Blazers have a multitude of veterans that they can go and trade for, or they can go and trade away. I said go and trade for. I have the Portland Trailblazers going 19-63, and they do have talent, but I don't know how much talent they have when it comes to producing winning basketball. As of right now, Scoot Henderson is very turnover prone and he's very inconsistent. I would like to think that he will get better this season, but as of right now, he's very turnover prone. He's very inconsistent. He has struggles with the outside shot. Anthony Simons is not very good on defense at all. Not the best playmaker as well. Jeremy Grant being your number 1 option offensively, most likely number 1 or number 2, is just not set up to win a lot of games. And DeAndre Ayton is not good defensively as a big at all, and he doesn't play through contact. There's just not a lot of players on here that produce winning basketball. And I think Donovan Clingan is going to be the starting center by post-trade deadline if they can get DeAndre Ayton out of the door. So I have them going 19-63. Up next, we're going to be talking about the Utah Jazz, who I have at 25-57. And when we look at this Utah Jazz team, when we look at the Spurs, the Blazers, the Nets, the Wizards, the Utah Jazz have a guy in Lauri Markkanen who they just re-signed. And it scratched a lot of heads, people were scratching their heads when the Utah Jazz decided to re-sign Lauri Markkanen, who is a 25 to 23 point per game kind of scorer. He's one of the best off-ball players in the league. He's probably the most plug-and-play player in the NBA. And you would just love to see this guy on a Denver Nuggets. Like, I would love to see Lauri Markkanen on the Denver Nuggets. Him and Nikola Jokic could probably pair the best duo in the league because Nikola Jokic is so great at finding guys in their spots, and Lauri Markkanen is just so good at being in the right spot at the right time. So good that he can average 25 points and be a mainly off-ball player. You know, Lauri Markkanen is a special talent. He's probably the most impactful off-ball player in the league outside of Steph Curry. He's so great outside of the perimeter. He can shoot the ball well. He's very lengthy, and he's really good at his job. You know, he's not going to be a guy that's going to do something that he cannot do, and he's always going to find himself in the right spot to get the most efficient shot as possible. And you would just love to see that next to Nikola Jokic, but that is not something that I'm going to talk about in this video. That is not the place. This is not the place or the time. What I want to talk about is the Utah Jazz, and I think Will Hardy is a fantastic coach. The way he draws up plays on offense, he knows how to maximize his players offensively. And they also have a group of veteran players that can be moved. John Collins has a player option worth like $25 million this offseason. You would like to move him. Colin Sexton may be moved. Jordan Clarkson, he's probably going to be moved. And Walker Kessler is going to be their starting center. There is things that you can like about this team in Utah. And the best part about it is they re-signed Lauri Markkanen, and they're still going to be a bad team. They're still probably going to have a top 5 to top 7 pick in this NBA draft, and they're going to be able to bring in more talent. So when you look at this team, you have Keyonte George, you have Isaiah Collier, you have Kyle Filipowski, you have Taylor Hendricks, you have Cody Williams, you have Lauri Markkanen, you have Walker Kessler. You're just missing that one piece. If you bring in, let's say you look into Cooper Flagg, or maybe it could be a guy like Nolan Traore or a guy like Dylan Harper, because in the end of the day, I do not know if I like Keyonte George as a starting or as a lead guard. I don't know if I like it. So let's say Nolan Traore or Dylan Harper, they come in, they show potential to be a top 10 point guard in the league. So now you have an extremely good young talent that you look at to be your number one. And Lauri Markkanen is a player that can complement any star in the NBA and has the type of play style that he can be a 25 point per game scorer for the next 8 years. So I really like them re-signing Lauri Markkanen with the odds, with the brand new lottery odds. They could be the 14th, 13th seed in the Western Conference, and there's still a pretty solid chance that they can get a top 3, top 5 pick in this draft. I mean, we've seen it the past few years. The number one team or the worst team in the league has not gotten the number one pick in the draft in the past 5 or 6 seasons. So I don't hate this. I don't hate them bringing back Lauri Markkanen. And if they didn't get what they thought they would out in the market for Lauri Markkanen, bring him back. Bring him back, because without Lauri Markkanen, let's say I have their record prediction as 25-57. Without Lauri Markkanen, they probably go 19-63. Same thing as Portland. I don't know if that really helps their odds at the number one pick entirely. So if you go get another guy and he looks phenomenal, he looks like he's going to be a surefire top 10 to 15 player in the league. Now you pair that with Lauri Markkanen, who's for sure a top 25 to top 35 player in the league. And now you really have something. Now you can go out and start competing. Now you can sign the proper veterans. Now you can go make changes to the coaching staff, which I don't think they will. But you bring in the proper role players. You bring in the proper veterans. And now we can start trying to push for a playing spot. I think one really good pick in the draft, the Utah Jazz, could be like the Houston Rockets. Let's be honest here. And as for some of their younger guys, I think Cody Williams is a phenomenal rookie. I think he's a guy that's going to be a switchblade offensively and defensively. He definitely has the length to guard multiple positions. I think he's probably going to thrive in guarding guards in his NBA peak. I think offensively, he's a good cutter. He has a good touch around the rim. You would like to see him work on that jump shot a little bit more, but that can be worked with. Keyonte George, this is a guy who is a tough shot maker. As far as a facilitator, I don't know if that is his best role, but he right now looks like a combo guard. Some of the guys like Anthony Simons or Keyonte George or Cam Thomas or CJ McCollum, some of these guys who can be combo guards in the NBA, but I don't see him being a full-time point guard. I think Isaiah Collier, if anybody else, is probably going to be that guy. and Taylor Hendricks, who showed a lot defensively his rookie year. I think they should give him another shot. I think he can be that multi-defender, multiple positions type of defender. I think he has more upside in that field than Cody Williams does. So we're going to see, man. We're going to see. I'm really excited for this Utah Jazz team. They're going to be really good for the first 40 games of the season, and then they're probably going to lose 35 of the next 42. So it's going to be fun. At number 13, we have the San Antonio Spurs, and I predict them to go 29-53. Now, this San Antonio Spurs team does definitely have a collection of young players that you can be excited for. They have Devin Vassell, they have Victor Wembanyama, they have Stephon Castle, who I think is going to be a very good complementary player to Devin Vassell and Victor Wembanyama. You would like to see Stephon Castle's playmaking get a little bit better in his rookie season. And I'm really happy they signed CP3 to really cover that up for Stephon Castle. He's going to be coming off the bench for the games that CP3 does play, and he can be able to teach something or learn something off the bench. And I think that's really going to help his efficiency in his rookie year, because if he was to come out and be the starting point guard, it could lead to some very tough shot making, and it could lead to a lot of turnovers just because people struggle as a lead guard for a struggling team, especially starting in their rookie season, as we just talked about with Scoot Henderson. But this team is going to go at the level that Victor Wembanyama goes, if you ask me. Even with Victor Wembanyama on the floor, this team is an average defense at best. They definitely need some more point of attack defenders or just players around the perimeter, because Victor Wembanyama cannot make this defense be respectable on his own. Because while I do think Victor Wembanyama is a great defender, there is some things he still does struggle with. He's not the best guarding in the post. He's not the best guarding in space. He is a great help side defender, and he is a great rim protector. And he's great at deterring players from the rim. Some people won't even go up to the rim when Victor Wembanyama is in the vicinity. But outside of that, I think Devin Vassell is going to put up his first 20-point per game season. Last year, he averaged about 19 and a half. I think he could bump up to about 21 or 22. I think CP3 is going to help this offense play a lot better with Harrison Barnes and Victor Wembanyama and Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell. And then off the bench, you got guys like Malachi Branham. You also have Stephon Castle. This team's going to be bad, but it's going to be watchable. It's going to be something that I will tune into every now and then just to watch Victor Wembanyama play and see how Devin Vassell can play with Victor Wembanyama in their two-man game, just to see how transitionable Stephon Castle's defense really is at the higher level. And I think he can thrive playing defense next to Victor Wembanyama, because Stephon Castle has experience playing with very effective defender behind him and Donovan Clingan back at UConn. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays, knowing that Victor Wembanyama will be covering anything that he slips up on. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, I will be having the Los Angeles Clippers at the 12th seed going 39-43. Now, this is a team that probably has had the worst offseason out of any team in the NBA. They lose out on Paul George and they get nothing back for him, even though there was a trade on the table for the Golden State Warriors to send them Jonathan Kuminga and some future draft capital and give up Paul George so they can have something in return. But this team did not get anything in return. Now, they do have Derrick Jones Jr., who can be a starting level player for them. James Harden, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Ivan Zubac. This is going to be a team that is going to be very tough to watch. And I think James Harden isn't even a number 2 caliber player anymore. He is a high level starter. He is one of the best playmakers in the league, but for him to be a number 2, I just don't think he's in that stage of his career anymore. And I do like the fact that he is embracing being the number 1 while Kawhi is gone. But when this is a Western Conference that is tough as it has been in the past few years, just starting out 4-7 or 4-8 can already put you back so far that I don't know if Kawhi coming back is really going to bring this team back into the playoff race. And we don't even know how long Kawhi is going to be out for. So I don't know with this Clippers team. I don't think their defense is going to be that great. Now, Kawhi, when he is locked in, when he is dialed in, is still one of the better defenders in the league. Derrick Jones Jr. is still a really good defender. But outside of that, guys like James Harden, Norman Powell, guys like Terrence Mann, I don't know if these guys are going to be as good as defenders when Kawhi or Derrick Jones Jr. isn't on the floor. I think Ivica Zubac is really underrated as a rim protector, and I think he does a very good job at that. But I don't think this team is going to give you enough offense. I just don't think this team is good enough defensively, and I think they're going to start out under 500, and in this Western Conference, that's not going to be good enough to make it into a play-in, especially when there are 11 teams. The 11 teams higher than them all have a really good shot at making the playoffs. So this Clippers team, I think they're in the worst position in the NBA, if you want me to be completely honest. Them or Phoenix. And I think Phoenix is a pretty guaranteed playoff team. So barring injury, I mean, I think they're a pretty lock to be a playoff team, at least the play-in. This Clippers team, even before the Kawhi injury, they were going to be fighting to be in the play-in without Paul George. And now Kawhi's probably going to miss some significant time. And then when he comes back, who knows if he's going to be coming back for the rest of the season. So this team is not going to be good. They're not going to be in the play-in, in my opinion, and it's only going to make it worse that they don't have their pick. So it's pretty dark days for Clipper fans. I'm not going to lie. That sucks. That really sucks. But at number 11, we have the Golden State Warriors, who I think have a pretty solid team. Now, the only thing I would say that is the issue with this is this team isn't good enough to be a team that rises out of the play-in. Like from seeds 7 to 10, I can see every single team finding a way to be outside of the play-in. The Golden State Warriors, in my opinion, it's either play-in or they don't make the playoffs at all. And it's because of they're asking Steph Curry, who is at the later end of his career, to be the main source of offense, almost way too much. You know, this is a level of carrying that Steph Curry, in my opinion, hasn't had to do in a while. And you just don't have any security in a player outside of Steph Curry to give you 20 a night. And we're probably going to have to bank on a Jonathan Kuminga jump. And I just don't think he's ready for that. I mean, he averaged about 16 and 7 last season. If I'm being correct, I don't think that's all the way accurate, but there's just things from Jonathan Kuminga's game that I just look at him and be like, this is not a 20 point per game scorer in the NBA right now. You know, later down the line, it could be, you know, I'm not going to completely rule that out, but right now he still struggles to have an outside jump shot. I don't think he can create for himself as well. This is a guy that looks like he's going to thrive off the pick and roll, thrive off cutting, thrive off of putbacks and offensive rebounds. But as of right now, I just don't think he can be a reliable number 2 on a team that is going to be trying to make a playoff push. Now, don't get me wrong. I still have them at 44 and 38, but this Western Conference is so good that 44 and 38 might not just get you in the playoffs, you know, and there's teams ahead of them. Like, for example, spoiler alert, I have the 10th seeded Pelicans who have Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and DeJounte Murray. The 9th seeded Houston Rockets have an egregious amount of young talent, and they have almost the most versatile. They have one of the deepest teams in the league, and they're a top 10 defense. So we look at the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan. This team could be in contention to have one of the best offenses in the league. And then we look at the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron and AD. And then we look at the Memphis Grizzlies. You know, I mean, just like this Golden State Warriors team does not match up to these teams that are going to be ahead of them. And Steph Curry is just not in the position in his career where he's going to be able to carry this Golden State Warriors team to a playoff spot. And I think by the time January rolls out, it's like you're going to be asking Steph Curry to be doing so much. Does that like really lead to a lot of wins, you know? And I do think their role players are solid. You know, I think they have enough on this team to where they can give up a young player or two to go get a guy like Brandon Ingram or Jimmy Butler to bring into this team, and you have a pretty solid team. Let's say if you get Brandon Ingram, your starting lineup is probably Steph Curry, DeAnthony Melton, Brandon Ingram, Draymond Green, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Like I don't think you give up a trade to the Pelicans that doesn't have, or honestly does not have, Trayce Jackson-Davis in it, because they need a center so bad. And by the trade deadline, they could be like, we need a center so bad that we're willing to give up Brandon Ingram for Trayce Jackson-Davis, maybe DeAnthony Melton, and a pick. You know, like that's not something that's crazy. And you still have the depth around this team to bring in a second star. And now you're looking at this team like, okay, this team could be better than the Pelicans. This team still might be able to be better than the Rockets, but this team can be better than the Kings, because once again, spoiler alert, from the 7th seed all the way to the 11th seed, I have a 3-game difference. So this is like something that's very close. And then from the 3rd seed to the 11th seed, it's a 9-game difference. So this is not something that's just completely out of the water. Like from my Eastern Conference standings, the 3rd seed and the 11th seed was a almost 20-game difference. It was a 17-game difference. So this is a Western Conference that's stacked. And around the trade deadline, you're going to want to bring in some secondary talent because you're going to start to see that Steph Curry just cannot carry a team like this into a playoffs or expect a deep playoff run at the age that he is at. I do think that the gravity that Steph Curry has on the floor can lead to some pretty high level offense at times, but I just don't think it's going to be consistent for a full 82 games to where Steph Curry is going to be able to carry us game in and game out, and we're going to make it to the playoffs with that level of basketball. I just don't think it can happen. Up next, I have the New Orleans Pelicans at 44-38. I have them finishing with the same record as the Golden State Warriors, and it's because of 2 reasons. The talent they have does not fit well together, and they do not have a starting level center. Now, don't get me wrong. The talent on this team is phenomenal. Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray, Zion Williamson, what's his name? Jordan Hawkins, the young guy. I think he's going to be going into his 2nd or 3rd season. This is just a team that you have a lot of talent because your star player is injury prone. You don't know if your star player is going to be giving you the 65 plus games a season, and you don't want it to be a waste of a season. You don't want Zion Williamson's health scare to be the end all be all of your seasons. That's why you keep guys like Brandon Ingram around, even though they don't fit next to Zion Williamson perfectly. That's why you go get a guy like DeJounte Murray, to where you did not have a starting level point guard on your team, but DeJounte Murray may not fit as well with Zion Williamson, but he's talent, So if Zion does go down, you have a starting lineup of maybe DeJounte, Herb, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, and insert your starting center. There have been rumors that the Pelicans want to put out Herb Jones for them to be the starting center. I don't think that's going to help at all. I think that makes it even worse because there are a extreme level of high level centers in the Western Conference. If we just look down the line, even just like centers who are in a really good position to where their main priority is going to be out rebounding somebody who plays a 2 guard, like that's not the best that's not the best strategy in my opinion. If we look at the Thunder with their big man rotation of Chet and Ihart, then we have the Denver Nuggets with the best player in the league in Nikola Jokic. The Dallas Mavericks with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are going to be great defensively, and they're going to out-rebound the hell out of Herb Jones. The Suns, Yusuf Nurkic is a fantastic rebounder. The T-Wolves, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, and Julius Randle. The Lakers, AD, top 3 center in the league. The Kings, Domantas Sabonis, he's going to kill Herb Jones. The Rockets, Alperen Sengun, who put 45 on Victor Wembanyama. And then we get to the Pelicans, and then after that, you still have to worry about some centers. You got the Blazers with DeAndre Ayton, Donovan Clingan, and Rob Will. You have the San Antonio Spurs with Wembanyama. Then you have the Clippers with Zubats. Like, what are we doing with Herb Jones at the center? I don't believe in that roster. I don't believe in that lineup, And I think it's going to come down to it. Games are going to come and go, and it's just like, how many games are you going to look at the end of the season and say, we lost this game because we couldn't win the rebounding battle? We gave these teams way too much possessions. How many times are you going to lose to teams like the T-Wolves or the Suns or the Nuggets or the Lakers and be like, we could have won that game if we had a starting level center? And I just think it's going to be way too much for them to be a locked in playoff team and for them to really make it out of the play-in, because I don't think they're going to make it out of the play-in this year. This is a Pelicans team that I was very high on to start the offseason. While Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson were healthy, they were the 5th seed, and it looked like the Pelicans versus the Clippers was going to be the first round matchup towards the end of the season. And then you hear that Brandon Ingram's going to be out, and they fall all the way down to the 7th seed. And then Zion Williamson gets hurt in the last few minutes of the playing game against the Lakers, where he had 40 points. And therefore, he's out for the season, and they go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they get swept because their main ball handler last season and their best player is not playing. So we've seen the narrative year in and year out. Zion or BI gets hurt, and I just think the Pelicans are more concerned with Zion's health problem and just having enough talent for them to be respectable if he does not play. And right now, it does not lead to a team that fits together better. Like you can really argue that Herb Jones and Trey Murphy are best for this starting lineup, and I would not argue against it. I would not argue against Trey Murphy and Herb Jones being your wing duo, and then having DeJounte and Zion be your number one and number two option, and then get a really solid starting level center, and then help out that depth a little bit. Like if that team was a thing, I could see them being better than the Rockets, the Kings, the Lakers, and maybe even the Grizzlies. But they just don't have that right now, and I don't think I just don't think their full team 1 through 12, 1 through 13 is going to fit well together. And I think the center problem is going to lead to a lot of losses this year. However, at number 9, I have the Houston Rockets at 45-37. This is a team that's very young. This is a team that is very young. And this is a team where I kind of struggled, with them or the Warriors. Do I want to have the Rockets fall to 11, and do I want the Warriors and Pelicans to push into the play-in? But I'm a little bit more certain on the Rockets than I am the Warriors, just because the Rockets have so many young players, and Alperen Sengun is going to progress even more this season. Ime Udoka is a really good head coach. They have a solid defense. They have vets that can come in and do a job. I think Jabari Smith is going to get better as a spot-up shooter this season. I think Jalen Green is going to be more efficient this season. I think Reed Shepherd is a nice touch, and he's learning behind probably the best person to learn behind in Fred VanVleet. So this Rockets team has everything you want. You also get Steven Adams to help out down low when Alperen Sengun is not in the game. You have Amen Thompson, who's going to be one of the better perimeter defenders in the league pretty soon. Dillon Brooks, who's already one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. Fred VanVleet, who's a solid starting level point guard. This team has a lot going for them. And in a play-in situation, I wouldn't say that the Warriors can beat the Rockets as of right now, with just Steph Curry and all the role players around them. And to be completely honest, that is a close game though. Like if the Warriors and Rockets were to see each other in a play-in game, if it's just one game, I don't know if I would pick against the Warriors, so that's what makes this Western Conference so tough, because I'm pretty sure the Warriors' main goal is like, let's just get to a play-in, because with these play-in teams, outside of the Lakers, they have the best player on the floor. For a one game situation, do I trust the Warriors or do I trust the Pelicans? I'm going to go with the Warriors. Do I trust the Rockets or the Warriors? I'm going to go with the Warriors. Do I trust the Kings or the Warriors? I'm going to go with the Warriors. So, not to dial back a little bit on the Warriors, but I don't know, man. I trust the Rockets regular season. I trust the Rockets to have a better regular season than the Golden State Warriors. That's what I would say. I think Alperen Sengun, all these young guys, they're going to be able to run up and down the floor. They're going to be hungry. They're going to play high-level defense. I think Jalen Green is going to be way more efficient this season, and I think they're going to win 45 games. Up next for the Sacramento Kings, I have them at the 8th seed. They're going 46-36. This is a team that I think is going to be back into the maybe top 12 offense in the NBA. I think they have a chance to be top 10. I actually did a video predicting who was going to be the top 10 offenses in the NBA this season. Don't remember if I have them top 10. Not going to lie, I made that video like 3 months ago. But nonetheless, I think this team is solid. I definitely worry about their defense just a little bit. Keon Ellis is a great defender. Keegan Murray is a great defender. De'Aaron Fox has moments where he can be a good defender, but the grand scheme of things, I don't know if I love their defense, because Malik Monk is probably going to be in the closing lineup, and he's not good on defense either. And I would love to see Domantas Sabonis work his way out to the three-point line a little bit, so the mid-range game can go to DeMar DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox, because De'Aaron Fox, I think he does not use his best ability as much. And that's his quickness. That's his shiftiness, his ability to get downhill, because a lot of people just cannot stay in front of him. And I think as of recent, we've seen him try to stretch out to the 3-point line a little bit more. I think he's like 37 on 8 attempts this past season. And that's just not something I want to see from De'Aaron Fox. You have this great ability. You're the fastest player in the league. I want to see you start getting downhill more. I want to see you start creating more looks in the mid-range, even though he has been doing that. I just want to see him get downhill a little bit more. You know, every single season, him getting to the restricted area his restricted area percentage has went down and down and down. And that's not on makes. That's just how many times he goes. So that's something that is concerning. You have three guys, your three best offensive options in DeMar, De'Aaron, and DeMontis, and they all kind of work in the mid-range area. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works. But nonetheless, I think they have way too much talent. I think it can fit better together than like the Pelicans for them to get more wins, you know? So I like this team. I definitely think they can make the playoffs. We're going to actually sit and do a deep dive for these standings and see how the playoff matchups are going to look, you know, things like that. And then, yeah, we move forward. At number 7, I have the Los Angeles Lakers at 47-35. Now, this is a team that obviously, for people who know, the Lakers are my squad. Love the Lakers. Will be a Laker fan until the day I move on. So when we look at this Lakers team, they didn't really make any adjustments in the offseason. And I don't know whether if people want to look at that as a bad sign or as a good sign, because some people would say this team is not good enough to make a deep run in the playoffs. Some people would say that if they just avoided the Nuggets, they would go to they would be make a deep run in the playoffs. And we've seen so much in the past few years of the Lakers just changing up the entire roster and having such an inconsistent group of guys out on the floor ever since really 2021, you know. And this is now off season where they just have not made any moves. They drafted Bronny James, they drafted Dalton Knecht, they signed Christian Koloko, and then their biggest offseason move was bringing in JJ Redick. And just off of what we've seen alone in preseason, it looks like JJ Redick is a step above Darvin Ham as a head coach. And a lot of things that we've seen from the Lakers and LeBron and AD was, we're going to run a spread pick and roll, and we're going to base our offense off how the defense reacts to that. And that's just not something that can work for a 40-year-old LeBron James anymore. So JJ Redick has him working a lot in actions, whether it's off-ball screening, cutting to the basket. One of the things that LeBron is best at is putting his head down and getting downhill. That's something that the NBA just has no answer for. And it looks like JJ Redick wants to implement that into the offense as much as possible without LeBron having to do way too much to get to that. If we can just get an off-ball screen or a decoy screen and LeBron a backdoor cut with AD sitting at the perimeter, that's really good. That's really good. You know, just to see these guys like Dalton Knecht take more open shots off actions, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, having a smaller player and Gabe Vincent sit in the dunker spot, so the big is really taken out of the equation when it comes to rim protection. There's just a lot of high-level offense that I've seen that makes me believe in this Lakers team, and it also makes me believe in this Lakers defense that they can be a respectable unit, or a more respectable unit than they were last year, because they were around middle of the pack. And I think some of their defensive schemes, even if JJ Redick, Nick McMillan, or Scott Brooks draws them up, I think is going to make Anthony Davis's job easier on defense, and I think they can be a more respectable defensive team. Now, let's move to the Memphis Grizzlies. If I did not say what I think the Lakers are going to be, I think they're going 47-35. I think they went 47-35 last year, so I have them as my 7th seed going 47-35. At number 6, with the Memphis Grizzlies, I have them going 48-34. And my 4, 5, and 6 is very interchangeable. This is probably the most interchangeable part of my list, you know. So Memphis, I have them going 48-35. And I like what they did this offseason. They draft Zach Edey. They also brought back Vince Williams Jr. I think they extended him. If they didn't, oh well, they still have him. They have Gigi Jackson. They still have Marcus Smart, who may be on the trade block. Who knows? They have Desmond Bane. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. They have John Morant. bringing their guys back from last season and adding more healthy pieces. Ja Morant and Desmond Bane coming back and being fully healthy is going to be very important for this team. I'm still concerned a little bit about the floor spacing where I think the only above league average 3-point shooter in that starting lineup is Desmond Bane, and I think the only one off the bench is Luke Kennard. And I think Santi Aldama is a solid 3-point shooter as well. And it's just, I don't think that complements Ja Morant's play style as much. I think you would want to have the most shooters as possible around Ja Morant. But when we look at the defensive aspect, Zach Edey, what we've seen from preseason, he's going to be a very good defender from day one with his length, his strength. We saw him guard on the perimeter a little bit. It was a possession against Spencer Dinwiddie where he forced a turnover. Now, I'm not saying that him guarding in space is going to be something that we should buy into year one, but I say there's some signs there. And that's something I did not really believe in Zach Edey. When I first started doing my scouting for the 2024 NBA draft, I just thought Zach Edey in space would not be as productive, and I just thought he was very clunky, and his footwork was not that good. But it shows that in pick and rolls he can be decent. In space he can be decent, and he's already going to protect the rim really well, and I think he's going to rebound the ball very well. He just looks like he's going to complement this team perfectly. He's going to be an amazing screener for Ja Morant, just getting Ja Morant that extra second of an advantage against a defender. That's going to be really good for them. Jaren Jackson Jr. now has the opportunity to roam because he's such a great help defender. That's going to make this defense really good. Marcus Smart is a very tenacious perimeter defender. Desmond Bane and Ja Morant are also no slouches on defense either. So this defense is going to be a top 10 defense in my opinion. And the offense is going to be just good enough to where they're going to produce a lot of wins like 48. Once again, this is the toughest part of my Western Conference predictions because now we move on to number 5, and that's the Minnesota Timberwolves at 49-33. I made a YouTube video a few weeks ago, like I think a day or two later after the trade happened, just talking about how this Minnesota offense could look with Julius Randle. And don't get me wrong, Julius Randle is still a great player, and I don't think his fit is going to be as seamless as KAT's and Rudy Gobert's was. But I just don't think that it can't work at all. I don't think that there's no shot in hell that this is not going to work. And he's not the floor spacer KAT is, but he definitely is the creator with the ball in his hand that KAT is not, and he is a better playmaker than Karl-Anthony Towns. The thing is, though, his attitude when things aren't going his way, his shot selection can be very bad. Sometimes his effort on defense just is not there. But I do not think Julius Randle is as bad to where people are saying Naz Reid is going to end up being the starter. I don't agree with that at all. But I think this unit for this season is really going to be predicated off of how Anthony Edwards can make a jump as a playmaker, because that is something we saw in the playoffs where the Dallas Mavericks pretty much forced him to be that, and he just was not ready. And if that by maybe the first 20, 25 games of the season, we really see that Anthony Edwards is starting to make a improvement in that aspect, you could see a lot of Dante DiVincenzo next to Anthony Edwards. You can see a lot of more spacing around Anthony Edwards now that he can really take on that responsibility. But I think he's going to get better year by year. I don't think this year is maybe going to be the year where he's just really good at that. I think he's going to make a jump this season. I think there's a world where he can average 29 a game this season. Hey, don't get me wrong. I just think he can do that. I think he can do that. I think Anthony Edwards is going to be very fun this season. I have them going 49-33. Just to let everybody know, I made this list before all the Ryan Dunn hype. So don't get in my comments talking about, oh, he saw a couple preseason games for Ryan Dunn and now he got the Suns at the 4 seed. I have the Suns going 50-32. Yes, I do. I have the Suns being the 4th seed in the Western Conference. And when we look at this Phoenix Suns team, they were really bad in the fourth quarters last year. They were really bad in the clutch. This is a team that has so much talent with guys like Kevin Durant, guys like Devin Booker, guys like Bradley Beal. And they were 16th in win percentage in clutch games, 48%. They were 23rd in offensive rating in clutch games. They gave up the most points off turnovers in the first round of the NBA playoffs. They were 3rd in turnovers in the first round of the NBA playoffs. This team was not good in the playoffs. Why is that? They don't have a floor general. They did not have a floor general last season. Now, insert this season, you bring in Tyus Jones, who's one of the better starting point guards in the NBA. And when I mean one of the better starting point guards, if you look at a list of starting point guards, Tyus Jones may not be he might not be top 17, but the point guard list and now in today's NBA is just so deep that guys like Fred VanVleet, guys like Tyus Jones are going to be at the bottom half of starting point guards, but you would still consider them a very good starting point guard. And I think Tyus Jones has the ability to set the floor for guys like Kevin Durant, guys like Devin Booker, guys like Bradley Beal. And now let's talk about Ryan Dunn because, man, oh man, that boy is hitting jump shots. And that's something that we were so concerned with coming in because Ryan Dunn took 12 3-point shots all last year at Virginia. He made 6 in a game the other night. That's half his 3-point production. That's half already. And he hasn't even played a real NBA game yet, So if Ryan Dunn is making that shot, and I'm not even saying be a 40% 3-point shooter, if you can be 35% from 3 on 5 attempts a night, you're going to get minutes. You're going to get minutes because you're probably already the best perimeter defender on this team, So that's something I'm looking forward to a lot. This Suns team has a lot of talent, man. And I think if they just move Grayson Allen, go get them a athletic big that maybe doesn't even have to start. Just bring him off the bench. Like I still think Bradley Beal should come off the bench. Starting lineup of Tyus, D-Book, Ryan, I'm not even going to say Ryan Dunn. I ain't even going to say Ryan Dunn. Tyus, D-Book, Royce O'Neal, KD, Yusuf Nurkic. Ryan Dunn will start after the All-Star break. They're not going to be able to just be like, rookie, you're going to get 12 minutes tonight. We're going to call it. No. Ryan Dunn is going to be somebody that gets minutes. Next up, I have the Dallas Mavericks going 53-29. This Dallas Mavericks team is going to be good, man. After the trade deadline, they were one of the best defenses in the league. They were the hottest team in the league outside of the Boston Celtics after the trade deadline. Luka Doncic is now surrounded with above-average shooters, guys like Klay Thompson, guys like PJ Washington. And a lot of people say that the Mavs didn't get better. A lot of people say that their defense is going to be bad. There's going to be multiple lineups where Luka is surrounded by Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, and Derek Lively. This defense is going to be solid. If you look past the first 5 minutes of the game where all the starters are playing together and Klay Thompson comes out for Najee Marshall or Kyrie comes out for Quentin Grimes, there's going to be some perimeter defense around Luka Doncic where people are so hung up with the fact that there's no perimeter defense in that starting lineup. Well, outside of the first 7 minutes of the game, how much is the starting lineup really going to play together? Like seriously, like nobody's going to have Kyrie, Luka, Klay, PJ, and Derek Lively. They're not going to play all of their minutes together. All of their minutes are not going to be played together. There's going to be lineups where Kyrie is surrounded by Klay, Najee, Quentin, and Daniel Gafford. There's going to be lineups where it's Luka, Quentin, Klay, Najee, and Derek Lively. It's going to be put together, and it's going to be spread out in multiple different ways to the where this team is not going to have a below average defender on the floor. I believe that they're going to improve, and I think they're going to be 53-29. And there's a world where they can get back to the finals, man. I don't hate it. Now, at number 2, we're going to go with the Denver Nuggets. And a lot of people are saying the Denver Nuggets did not get better. They definitely lost a lot with KCP. He was a great perimeter defender, shot 41% from 3. But when we look at some of the depth they brought in, you have guys like Julian Strawther, who's been hitting the outside shot consistently in preseason. Christian Brown, who I think just needs to be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to shooting threes, can be a very nice defender with his athleticism. And then you still have Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Aaron Gordon, to where some people would say this is a top 3 starting 5 in the NBA. Don't hate it, and I think Nikola Jokic is really good at emphasizing his co-stars and emphasizing the players around him, to where the KCP loss is going to be significant, but not significant enough for them to fall out of championship contention. And at number 1, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be the best team in the Western Conference for 2 years in a row, with SGA Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, there is not a below average defender on this starting five. There's not. You know, these teams are going to suffocate NBA teams. They're young. They're hungry. They're going to be available. They're going to play. Their depth is amazing. They have Ihart coming off the bench. And the minutes that he played with Chet Holmgren in the preseason looked amazing. They looked fantastic. So this team is going to be 59-23. They may just win 60 games. It wouldn't surprise me. That is my Western Conference standings. You know, my throat is starting to burn because anytime I talk for a very long time, my throat starts to hurt. For all the people who are watching this, if you guys know a podcaster or do a podcast yourself, give me some tips for my throat. Hey, that's the video, man. To wrap it up, we at the 15th seed, we have the Portland Trail Blazers going 19-61. At the 14th seed, we have the Utah Jazz going 25-57. At the 13th seed, we have the San Antonio Spurs going 29-53. At the 12th seed, we have the Los Angeles Clippers going 39-43. At the 11th seed, we have the Golden State Warriors going 44-38. At the 10th seed, we have the New Orleans Pelicans going 48-30 or 44-38. At the 9th seed, we have the Houston Rockets going 45-37. At the 8th seed, we have the Sacramento Kings going 46-36. At the 7th seed, we have the Los Angeles Lakers going 47-35. At the 6th seed, we have the Memphis Grizzlies going 48-34. At the 5th seed, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves going 49-33. At the 4th seed, we have the Phoenix Suns going 50-32. At the 3 seed, we have the Dallas Mavericks going 53-29. At the 2 seed, we have the Nuggets going 56-26. And at the 1 seed, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder going 59-23. Thank you everybody so much for kicking it with me for this little bit under an hour podcast. The very next episode, I'm going to be doing my award predictions, all NBA teams, breakout players. We're just going to be taking it all and we're just going to predict the entire NBA season, you know? So it may take a little while for me to match that video up. I got to do a lot of research. I haven't even started, you know? And by the way, me and Mars Talk Sports are going to be starting our podcast this Sunday with the top 10 point guards in the NBA. Very, very, very excited to get that started, get that out for you guys. It's going to be over on his channel. We're going to be going live every Sunday. We're going to be doing it the right way. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys want to lock in to some high level conversation, y'all got to get there. Y'all got to get there because it's going to happen. Anyway, I appreciate everybody watching. Ball Dominant is back. Ball Dominant is on top. Don't listen to what the subscribers say. Don't look at the numbers because when I put this out, it's probably going to have like 60 views and I'm only probably going to gain 1 subscriber. But hey, you guys are here. You guys are here. So appreciate everybody watching. God bless you all. And I'm out. Peace.